What I need is a big gavel, isn't it? I need something to really bang on the table. Bang, bang, bang. There are no fire alarms scheduled to take place today, but if one does occur, we will need to evacuate the building in a calm and orderly fashion using the nearest fire exit. Notice I'm seated as far as possible from the fire exit. Nothing pointed, John. Do item 1, apologies for absence. Do we have any apologies?
Yes, Chair, we've had apologies from Councillor Carrick and Councillor Hiles.
Okay, thank you. Everyone else, I think, is here. Declarations of interest. Do members have any declarations of interest or dispensations to declare in relation to any item of business on the agenda?
Other than we all park our cars from time to time.
Yeah, I think Craig allows us all to park and drive at 20 miles an hour. Yeah, we're fine. Okay. So excitingly, under item 3, exclusion of press and public, there is an item on today's agenda down for that under the capital programme. The capital programme update is marked exempt by virtue of paragraph 3 of part 1 of schedule 12A of the Local Government Act 1972. Information relating to the financial or business affairs of any particular person, including the authority holding that information. So that's a commercial in confidence cover. This item will be moved to after item 12 on the agenda, so we don't have to clear the meeting halfway through. So that will be the new item 13. And it's about the capital programme. So I therefore propose that the press and public be excluded from this meeting during the consideration of this item. Could I have a seconder? That's Councillor Taylor. Would we have a show of hands to accept this?
Unanimous, Chair.
Thank you. So, public participation. I can confirm there have been 2 applications to speak on this occasion. So first, I would like to invite Mr. John Parkinson on behalf of Upfront Arts to speak. You have 5 minutes, and if you'd like to take a position at the usual at the front so we can all see you, that would be great.
This big screen is impressive.
Yeah, just use any mic, yeah.
Just start at the top or stopwatch.
John will be,
When he starts that, I'll
when he's starting to speak,
Do you want to turn the microphone on?
put the
Sorry.
mic on. Yeah.
Just press the button.
Brilliant.
Hi. Last time I came, and with some of my board members, we were concerned about the development plans for the Old Town Hall, the consultancy and its implications. We have had a nice meeting today with Councillor Woodall, Baker and Nick Wright to discuss some of the issues that were concerning my board or chair of the board in relation to Upfront and other places. And we've, sorted some stuff out and discussed other stuff and put other possible things forward. The main concern is whether or not this current council is during, after or following the consultation for the Old Town Hall going to be asked to make a financial contribution on an ongoing basis to any activity or organisation or any other person that starts to take on the town hall to administrate it, run it in whatever form, either as a private business, as a subsidised arts venue by the arts person in the building doing it, or by any other person. So that is the key question really. Has the council been asked that? Has it discussed it during the build-up to this point? Is there an awareness that there might be an implication of cost? Because currently the council has obviously sadly got this £10 million overspend So as we go into next year, if we have to find money to finance this new venue in the town hall, this new activity in the town hall, how will that be done, and is the council considering committing to that now so that it can be part of any business plan put forward as it moves forward into actuality? I think I've said that as efficiently as I can.
Thank you. Yes. Not quite as short as the written question you sent, but thank you very much for coming and for asking that question so that it can be brought out in the public. As you know, we're at the very early stages, and the financial model for Penrith Town Hall has not been created yet. That work will take place once the visioning or concept work that we're doing at the moment has been concluded, and it will be part of the business case development, the ongoing funding, how that will be achieved. But to confirm, the council has not refused to agree regular funding for Penrith Town Hall once it's been.
That was a key question, because obviously that makes it very hard work to push this boulder up a hill to get to a point where it might then become viable as a well-funded activity or venue. So
so there's no refusal, but there is no commitment at the moment. It just depends on the economic plan. Do you have any supplementary questions?
Yeah, just one question. As a spin-off from that and what we talked about at the beginning of the year, we asked for that the council, the new council, after being visited for 2 or 3 years, would consider how the funding works across the board for all arts organisations, charities under its remit. And my board are quite keen now to push what we were talking about when they came to represent us when we first came here, that the council was considering, has got a plan and a timescale for implementing even and equitable funding across all arts organisations that are charities under and within its remit. So my question is that plan in place? What is the actual ability to come to some sort of ongoing plan so that we can look in a month, 2 months' time to a decision that's made so we know something is happening? When will it be drawn together? When will it be announced? And how will it affect the global budget of £300,000 that currently is allowed for the arts in the area? Will that have to be increased to deal with the obvious extra demand that is here, because other people will be saying the same thing to me? Or will it have to be spread across the various arts organisations in the area?
Right, thank you. I've noted down that, and I'm sure John has as well. I know there is a plan in production because, as Jenny was discussing with you this morning, she did have timescales and a rough idea of the plan that she was explaining to you, but it's not yet finalised. So if I can put a written response back to you with the dates that Jenny can put to it, that would be
yes.
Yeah.
When, how, timetable, just to see really, so we're all trying to do what your council is trying to do with less money, and that's allocated, plan for the next 12 months next year. With or without the money, do we have to generate income from somewhere else? Do we have to tighten our belt a bit? And we need to know that because we start planning like now for what we're doing next year.
Yeah, thank you. We will send you a written response
Okay,
on that.
thank you very much, and thank you for listening to me.
Thank you.
Good night.
I would now like to invite Mr. Jeff Thompson to speak. Would you like to come forward? I see the microphone's already been switched on for you. As usual, you have 5 minutes to your point.
Just want to make sure that that can be picked up by the camera. I wrote and submitted on behalf of Castletown residents a separate, standalone application to make Castletown Penrith a 20-mile-an-hour speed restricted area.
This was while I was an independent West Ward Penrith Town Councillor. The application was submitted on December 29, 2023 and acknowledged by the Council on January the 15th, 2024. Since then, I've heard virtually nothing more from this Council. Then I read in the press last week, Castletown 20-mile scheme put on back burner. First I knew about it and I wrote the application. We would like to know what has happened, what has changed, why Castletown Council's consultation was considered, and I quote, to be inconclusive. Castletown was only offered a drop-in consultation for a couple of hours one weekday afternoon at Penrith Library. I wrote to the council and asked for a consultation event at Castletown Community Centre. I received no reply, and no Castletown event was held, even though on this council flyer it clearly states, in selected public buildings within your community. I suggest Castletown Community Centre is a public building within the Castletown community. Your community consultation was bad. It never reached the community. Tracy of Castletown said, "We got nothing in the post about the consultation." Clive said, "No consultation whatsoever." Mark said, "We never received anything." For inconclusive, Westmorland Furness Council must do better. We want a reversal of the council decision or a complete new proper community consultation. Next, another important road safety issue is the failure of Westmorland Furness Council on Castletown's 7.5 tonne access only weight restricted. The breach is, it's being breached every day. Every single day. I'll give these pictures to John afterwards so he's got them. Again, we have lobbied the council and asked for a highways resident site meeting, only be told by your highways department such a meeting would not be beneficial at this stage. If you are not satisfied with the outcome, please contact the complaints team. Well, I have news. We're not satisfied with a council which refuses to listen, refuses to consult, and councillors who refuse to hold ward surgeries. On the Penrith Pond, you should be aware residents have had to go to the MP because councils and councils refuse to listen, consult, or hold ward surgeries. For the same reason on Castletown's road weight restriction, we have had to go to the Police and Crime Commissioner. Here is his response. I'm going to ask Inspector, I'll read that to the name, to look and assess the signage into out of Castletown in respect of HGVs. I will then write again to Westmorland Furness asking that they clear up the signs and make it very apparent to all road users and all signs what the restrictions are. His office is now also setting up a meeting with the residents, hopefully including Councillor Isles and possibly including the MP. Bearing in mind earlier, your highways department refused the residents' meeting. It is noticeable that yet again this evening there is no official representation from Penrith Town Council, another authority refusing to listen, consult, or hold ward surgeries. Thank you.
Right. Thank you for coming on tonight to bring these points to our attention. I do have a response prepared by officers, which I will read out. The council's 20 mile per hour programme is underpinned by the 20 mile per hour policy, which was adopted in September 2023. And following the launch of the application progress in December 2023, numerous submissions were received from across Westmorland and Furness. But as outlined in the guidance applications, these can only be submitted by town or parish councils, not by individuals. This was communicated to you by officers upon receipt of your individual submission. So that submission could not be accepted under the protocol. However, Penrith Town Council had submitted a submission for the whole of Penrith, which included several areas, which among them was Castletown. So it did get into the process. So officers worked with the ward councillors and the representatives of Penrith Town Council to agree the design proposals and consultation methods. Public engagement included a drop-in event in Penrith Library, a leaflet drop to all affected residential properties, and a series of media campaigns across local press and online platforms to ensure the community was well informed and had the opportunity to participate. So I hope that explains why you individually did not get a response, apart from the leaflet drop to your house, which no doubt occurred. On the second point, the council has received concerns regarding the 7.5 tonne weight restricted signage and the continued use of the route by HGVs, which we accept is happening. Officers have reviewed the signage in detail, and where possible, improvements have recently been made. So it's important to notice that all the signage currently in place is legal, compliant, and meets the required standards, offering the best possible level of enforcement within current regulations. So officers have engaged with local councillors and the Cumbria Police to discuss the community concerns and to support enforcement activities, because of course it is the police that have to enforce these restrictions and the council cannot. Do you have any further question on this?
Well, I've no doubt you'll stop me. When I submitted the application, I was a town councillor. I did not submit it as an independent person. Yeah, I'd also like to know who your councillors were speaking to. You say it was councillors. Who did they speak to? They've not spoken to me. And then on your signage, you did make some tweaks, and I mean, it's worse than it was before. There's more wagons, every wagons in that road today than there's ever been. I despair. Why won't you speak to people? You can do it just council taxpayers. Why is there this them and us? Why do you not hold board Sudbury's council, Taylor?
Chair.
Thank you, I think that will do.
Chair, fees, personal attacks are unacceptable.
Yeah. So that we won't have that in the minutes, please. John?
You want a press release about it?
Now on to item 5. The minutes of the previous meeting held on 16th of July 2025.
Okay, yeah, no problem, I'll double check.
Anything further on the minutes? We propose that this is a true record of the meeting. That's Councillor Atkinson proposing. We have a seconder, Councillor Murray. Thank you. These minutes agreed. All vote. Oh, you went there, so that's fine. That's everyone, isn't it? There. Thank you. Now we have item 6, where I'd like to welcome Susan Watkins, the Area Operation Manager of Inspira, to present on the Eden Youth Support Employment Hub. I think we're aiming for about no more than 20 minutes on this, Susan, if that's all right with your presentation and then questions.
That's absolutely
That's okay.
This is very technical. Yeah, thank you very much. So hello, thank you for inviting me. I am Susan from Inspira. We are a charity. We work in the fields of careers, employability and personal development. I'm here today to talk about specifically a project called Eden Youth Worker. I have met some of you whilst we've been doing this project for 4 years, and some more than others who have helped kick this off. So the project came about post-pandemic when DWP was struggling to re-engage those young people, 16 to 24, who were on benefits. They had potentially been more adversely affected by the pandemic. They'd had mental health issues, they had less work experience than other people, and DWP went about setting up youth hub sites so that they could meet these young people in more informal venues. If you've been into a job centre, it's not the most welcoming environment, particularly as a young person. The first thing you meet is a security guard. So the idea was that they would meet in more informal venues to get them re-engaged. And they put some funding out and offered it to local authorities to provide a youth worker to work alongside the DWP work coach to try and move these young people forward and help them overcome their barriers into employment. At the time it was Eden District Council, and their econ dev team approached us because we have the expertise, the advisors who can do this work, and we created a partnership. So there was Eden District Council, GWP, Cumbria County Council and Inspira, and we developed a bespoke offer for the Eden area. An implementation plan was created and service delivery commenced in October 2021. We had, through the people who were involved in setting it up, a local bespoke programme where they were meeting people in their own communities. Part of the issue here is the rurality. There's no point us just having a hub in Penrith if the young people live in Appleby or Kirby Stephen or Kirby Thor or wherever it is. So we set up an outreach model as well so that we could get to them, and then we can work out where can they get to work, because if all the jobs are restricted by transport, that's going to be really tricky. And we did collaboration. So the DWP coach and the Eden Youth Worker work together, meet the young person together. The Eden Youth Worker, however, is full-time. So the work coach has got 20 minutes a fortnight to meet with that person. The youth worker can put in additional appointments in the week, can arrange to meet them at a different venue to keep that momentum and help to work on their barriers. And there are a lot of barriers. You know, there was a lot of mental health, there was housing, some of them were care leavers, there was substance abuse, there was all sorts of reasons why these young people couldn't move forward. The other thing we did was engage employers, and we've got employers on board who understand what we're trying to do, and we're very understanding of the young people as well, and they were creating opportunities for the young people we were working with. One of the things we did was a personal development programme. Some of them, if they come in And the first thing we say to them is, oh, let's do your CV, or let's think about some interview skills. Ooh, we're going to frighten them off. So we worked on confidence, team building skills, problem solving skills, all things that you need in the workplace, but wrapped up as personal development. And we ran a thing called Dragon's Apprentice, which we managed to secure some additional funding for, a cross between Dragon's Den and The Apprentice, obviously. And the young people were given £100 and they had to do something with that £100 to make it into more money, and then they gave a presentation at the end to a panel, and they all did great. Obviously there was a winning team, but they all got a lot out of it, and they all talked about what they learned on their way. What we also put in place was, when they move into work, we don't just go, right, job done. You know, we do what we call in-work support. So we help them to sustain that employment. So whether it's, do you understand your contract, or how was your first day, have you been paid, all of these sorts of things, the reasons they might fall out of employment quickly, because we know if we can keep them in employment for 12 weeks, they're likely to stay there for a long time. So we focused on the hardest to help individuals, targeted support for those young people facing multiple and complex barriers to employment. So what did it look like? We were targeted to work with 60 young people quite intensively. And in the first year, we only had 53 referrals, but we outstripped our other targets. So we were asked to move 10 into employment, and actually 27 of them went into employment. 10 entered training, and a lot of them received the in-work support. The really interesting part for us was, we were doing our day job alongside the partners, but Eden Youth Hub itself became highlighted as an exemplar model and was talked about in Parliament. Ministers still talk about it today, about how it's such a unique offer and how the outputs are so good. So that offered us potential for some more funding. It was only supposed to be 1 year, but we managed to get into year 2 so that we could carry on. And again, we outstripped the targets. Out of 58 young people, we put 22 of them into work, and 20 of those 22 sustained the employment for more than 13 weeks. We put more young people through training, and they change the targets every year, to be honest. That's why these don't look the same as year 1. It depends what DWP's priorities are at the time as to what targets they give us. It's a bit of a moving target, but we make it work. And what we do is we make it work for the young people and then work out what boxes that ticks, rather than trying to tick a box first, if that makes sense. So overall, we're now into year 4, and we will have had 220 young people who have received that tailored support. And 50% of them will have successfully secured employment. 50% will have gained some more qualifications. Care leavers in particular have benefited from the comprehensive wraparound support, and that's because we deliver the Penrith element in Eden Foyer, and we have a great partnership with Riverside there, who value what we do as well. So those young people as care leavers, they get the additional support that they're looking for. Those not secure in employment are actually signposted on after their support. They get 6 months support with the hub, and that's the DWP rule. But what we do is we don't just go, oh well, you've done 6 months, you haven't got a job, sorry about that. What we do is we find them the next bit of provision that is going to help move them forward. Okay. So I've lumped years 3 and 4 together, just from timings. So on the back of the success of years 1 and 2, we did manage to secure some more funding. It wasn't seamless because we had to and fro quite a lot. And again, it was by this point Westmorland and Furness Council and their income dev team really put the work in to get it over the line, to get some more funding. But there was some gaps in provision. And DWP have confirmed that this year will be the final year of funding. That's it. They've got different priorities. So we will be delivering until April 2026. But then we're done. So I put a slide in on impact because I'm so appreciative of the commitment and the collaboration from all the partners, so that includes the council, driven by this shared recognition of the project's positive impact on young people and the local community. The Youth Hub has become a high-profile initiative, recognised nationally, both in government and in DWP, and I give talks to DWP in different areas around how they can make this happen where they are. The feedback we have from young people highlights the difference the support has made. They've got somebody, a person, who is on their side, who is helping them, who is championing them, rather than just a once a fortnight, 20-minute appointment which says, what jobs have you applied for this week? What interviews have you had? So they've got someone to, I'm going to say carrot and stick them, yeah? Sometimes we have to get on their case, and other times it's about the reward. So it has a lovely, strong reputation, and employers now proactively approach us. You go, oh, I hear you're working with young people. So I've put a slide in about the future. So I said, we're scheduled to conclude in April 2026. I think at present, alternative funding avenues remain uncertain. There might have been things like UK shared prosperity funding that we could tap into, but I understand that we've still got question marks over that. But we will be looking at what provision is out there and who can offer these young people something to move on to. We won't have the new pipeline coming through without that funding though. It's essential that we collaborate as a community as well. There are lots of small organisations that we can maybe tap into to bring these people to where they need to be. I think maybe, I don't want to use that bad word, but devolution might also bring opportunity because that might bring different funding in as well. But as it stands, that's our 4 years, 220 young people moving into employment, gaining some new skills, and becoming active members of our communities. I'm well within my time.
Indeed.
And I'm happy to take any questions.
Yes, thank you very much. Pat?
Thank you. I remember going to the launch. I was the county councillor at the time, and I've always been hugely impressed by the work that's been done. And my memory was there were quite a lot of partners around the table, and didn't it also include Company Youth Alliance as well?
Yes, they attend the hub and they do different.
They do different things, but similar things, but they're different cohorts.
What we do is we take each young person's current situation. Where are you now? Where do you want to get to? How are you going to get there?
Yeah.
And then we utilise whichever service is going to be the best.
It's going to be the best.
Yeah.
So I have been a huge admirer of this. How does the work that you're doing, how will it be picked up potentially by Connect to Work? You know, a big project, and surely, you know, I know that I think they're going through the commissioning stage at the moment.
They are.
Surely they will want your young people in work. So it's hard to understand why your funding's ended, why it hasn't seamlessly gone into that. If you could shed some light on that, that would be helpful.
I'm speaking on for GWP, so please don't quote me, but as I understand it, they're having some changes in their organisation, so they're not funding projects in the same way.
Yeah.
So, for instance, they are taking the National Careers Service, which is currently delivered by various partners around the country, in-house, and they're going to deliver that themselves. And adult skills funding will be moving to different pots and potentially under devolution move again. So there's a lot of moving targets. Connect to Work is slightly different in that to be eligible for Connect to Work, you must pass what is it's called the PLAP, right? So you have to submit a name to GWP and it comes back and it says yes or no. So have they got a disability? Have they got criminal convictions? Has to be a significant barrier for them to be eligible for Connect to Work. Whereas we can work with any young person, their mental health doesn't have to be diagnosed, it doesn't have to be at any certain level. It could be that they haven't got any disability or health conditions. They might just have had a very poor experience in education, didn't get any qualifications, and that's what's holding them back. And so they wouldn't be eligible for Connect to Work in the same way. So it will still pick up some young people, but maybe not all.
Okay, thank you.
John?
Thank you very much indeed. Thanks very much for the presentation and absolutely for all the fantastic work that you've done. When you get a young person into work and it sticks, it is a tremendous achievement, and we're all very grateful for that. Thank you. I also really appreciate the slightly subversive way you work with the young person, then work out what books you can take afterwards, because that's how you tailor things, isn't it? The fact is, we will still have care leavers and other young people who will find it very difficult to get into employment after April 2026. And so we do need to make sure we can find ways of retaining this type of service. You mentioned devolution, and of course, there will be a mayoral combined authority. There will be a strategic view of employment and skills and such like. I think what we need to get out of that is somebody who's then going to work at the micro level and actually sit down with young people and do exactly that kind of coaching that you've been doing. And it's something which I think this board can very sensibly keep a careful eye on for young people in Eden. Thank you very much.
And I think there is a thing called the Youth Guarantee. So in devolved areas, they are currently piloting a Youth Guarantee, and there's various organisations delivering that, mostly in cities at the moment, I will say. But there could be pots of funding to be drawn on in that way, and then you can devise your own way of doing
it. Adrian, you want that?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. You mentioned, one thing you mentioned was assisting young people with sustaining tenancies. And I know when I was chairing the Impact Housing Association, that was something that the Impact Housing Association felt was an extremely important thing to do. How is the cooperation between yourselves and the several housing associations that you work with working? Is it working effectively from your point of view of that?
It works very effectively. We have one Eden youth worker, right? So it's only one person, and everybody knows their name. And we pick up the phone and advocate on behalf of the young person, and they know who we are, and they respond really quickly. Often these things happen quite quickly. There might be a family relationship breakdown. They might come to us and they're already sofa surfing. That is our first port of call. That is the first barrier that we need to remove, because they can't think about applying for a job, getting a job, keeping a job, whilst they haven't got a secure place to live. So that's our first port of call, and yes, we have an excellent service of youth council.
Can't hear it. Mary?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for all you've done for the 4 years. How much are you looking for the gap that we're going to have until we've got a local authority? We're looking at probably 2 years, I would expect.
Yeah, it's complex because at the moment we have Westmorland and Furness Council put some in.
Yeah.
I provide some match funding,
Yeah.
so some of the time I give, not for free, but as match, and DWP puts them in. And I think Emily Bond from the Econ Dev team is probably the best lady to ask about how much could actually be done. Might be a better way of doing it, you know, rather than the way we've got it. The way we've got it has been a proven model, and that's why it's continued. But there might be a different way that they want to approach it. I'm not here to pitch for the cash, I'm just here
No,
to tell you
I'm more
about it.
concerned, Chair, about the gap that we're going to have. And when something stops, it's very, very difficult to get something successful started to move on again. And being right at the start of all this happening in the first place, with the Invest in Eden project, which is why this came into fruition working with DWP. I'm very keen that what we've seen as a success, we don't lose it. So I think if we could take it away, Nick.
Yeah, Nick, you want to respond?
Yeah, I was
work on
going.
this
I was going.
before we lose it.
Yeah, sorry, Mary. Absolutely, I was going to make the suggestion. We've got a Children and Young People's Working Group that you know about, Susan. You've attended a few times. I think let's take the issue there and kind of unpick it and try and consider what are we losing and potentially what we might want to try doing differently, but kind of have an open conversation around that in that forum. Absolutely love to support, and there's a really great video of the service that I've seen that I know members haven't, and I've just emailed it to you
It's
all.
the Vimeo one, isn't it?
Yes.
That they did recently with Lauren. Yeah.
So
It was Westmorland Council actually asked us to do the video for them. So yeah.
It's a good case study, isn't it, about a little bit of investment and how that can return.
Yeah.
There's 9 million people who are of working age that are not looking for work and not in work or looking for work at the moment. 9 million is a lot of people. That's a lot of economic effort that we should have.
Yeah.
And unemployment's just gone up, so that figure's probably changed today. And it really concerns me for our young people who can't get into work. You know, it's not good for them, it's not good for the economy, it's certainly not good long term for them. So therefore I do think we are beholden to actually do something and not, you know,
Yeah, Jim, do you want to contribute?
Yes, I'd just like to say thank you very much for everything. I can remember having a fight at some one year or another, the next year's funding, and we got there. But I suppose that's all up now because it's which is a great pity. I'd just like to point out that 220 young people. You know, maybe that doesn't sound like a big number, but actually, for us, I can remember being at a county council network conference, and there was somebody talking about their daughter getting ready to go into secondary school with a 13 form entry school. And that's probably our entire population. Our entire school year population is probably about 13 form entry, you know. And so, you know, for that number of people to have been helped is significant, and it will also have a significant impact with their peers, with their, you know, with their neighbourhoods and so on and so forth. So somehow we need to try and continue with this and not just let it, you know, all go and then have to be restarted, because those 220 people need help, and then the quicker they get help, the better. Thank you.
Sorry. No, Vicky? Yeah.
Thanks for the presentation. I just wondered how much contact you have. Well, first of all, I didn't know how you identify the young people. Is it when they pitch up at the job centre?
It's evolved over the years. Okay. So in year one, we could find them as well, and DWP could refer people in. By the time we get to year 4, it's restricted to DWP telling us who we can work with. And they have to have been on universal credit for over 6 months. which is why they're the hardest to help.
Yes.
You know, they've been there a long time, they have no routine, they maybe lost some aspiration, all of those things. And again, the project is run on DWP priorities, like I say. I have a bit more freedom, if you like, in my organisation, and like I say, we can help them and then work out how it's going to fit. But yeah,
It seems it would be good to identify them when they're still at school, if they attend, or you know.
now
And
that's
Inspirers
yeah.
obviously works.
That's done differently. So if they're 16 to 18, Westmorland and Furness Council commission us to work with some targeted groups. So we work with care leavers, SEND, those with a social worker, and those under youth justice. So that would be from year 9 right the way through to 18. So we already know about those people, they're already getting that service. It's the ones after that, or the ones who weren't in any targeted groups that haven't had any support, and that's where we pick them up here.
Okay, and is that project still going to carry on that age group?
The younger one?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's called Targeted Careers Information, Advice and Guidance, and that contract has been extended to September 2026 currently, with a promise of September 2027.
Great, thank you very much. Lots of food for thought for everybody around here. And yeah, if you could stay in contact with Nick, and we'll think about that through the working group.
We will.
Thank you. Thanks for listening. I'm going to take my
Thank you very much. Yes, you can sneak out whilst the rest of us have to stay. Thank you. Thank you very much. We now have, backed by popular demand, the Eden parking protocol. Yeah, I know. Does it time fly? So Flora McClellan, our traffic management team leader, is going to tell us about this.
Part two.
Part 2.
very much.
Thank you.
So prepared to talk parking? Our favourite topic? Right, so yes, this report is to inform members of the responses that we've received through the statutory advertisement of the Eden Parking Protocol. And it's also to take a resolution on whether we introduce it or not. So currently, Appleby is the only area which is restricted by disc parking and has resident permit holder exemptions. So they are entitled to a residence permit. So through the consultation, they were really the only area that was impacted, although the information was displayed on our website, was advertised in the paper. The introduction of the protocol, should it be approved today, means for Eden, it means that we're able to look at other areas. So we've got some areas where we've got seasonal restrictions, some areas where we've got no restrictions at all, and have parking problems, but it's quite difficult to agree to a resident exemption because there's potentially so many holiday homes or private lets, and because we haven't got a policy that stipulates who's entitled to what, it's quite difficult to manage, so we've sort of held off. So the introduction of the protocol would allow us to then expand the resident exemption entitlements to other areas within the Eden area. Right, so our consultation took place between the 20th of September and the 11th of October. My first apology is that you didn't receive the copy of the representations when the reports were initially provided. They were submitted at a later date. In regards to the Eden one, it went down quite well and we only received 2 responses. The main response was really that they wanted a little bit of clarity of what it meant. And they highlighted that one of the representatives came back and asked further questions in regards to what it sort of meant for residents where they've got driveways, if they've got large driveways, if they've got a garage, and obviously the allocation of their entitlement would then be reduced. So they were happy and they were reassured of that. So, in absence of the negative feedback regarding the proposal, which is what we usually get through consultations, I would assume that there was overall favour in regards to the protocol being entered into the Eden TRO. So, yeah, the purpose of this report is to ask for permission to introduce it.
Okay, great, thanks very much. Has anybody got any questions for Laura on this protocol that you've all read?
No, just general.
Judith first, I think.
I can't remember whether I asked this the first time around, but if this is the template we're going to use in other areas, the bit I was slightly concerned about, I think, was the 4.1 of the resident parking only areas where it would be a household abutting a road. Because in some of the places which, you know, I'm referring to, it's the issue where you've got alleyways going up from the main road to properties. They don't have any parking, but they access down onto the main road. They may not have got it. So would they still be eligible?
I mean, it all depends on what the road widths and things are as well. So the introduction of disc park, and it has to work to the regulations, and we have to follow what's stipulated within the traffic signs and regulations. And it stipulates a specific width for your park and bay. So if your carriageway width isn't suitable for to fit a parked car there, and then allow another vehicle to safely pass, then you wouldn't be able to introduce a park and escape on that section of network anyway. In regards to the properties that reside down back lanes, what you can do is you can justify. So I think within the protocol there's something that stipulates if you're in, on the list, if you're included within the list. So there are some properties in Penrith, for example, where they are not on the highway, they are off the highway, but they still form part of that zone. So I can't see there being a problem with including them if that's where they park their vehicle, assuming that they don't have any facilities to park off street and assuming that it meets with the requirements to be able to introduce a scheme in that area.
Okay, it'll be interesting to take what's been produced to then discuss with other communities to see how they feel about it.
Absolutely, and I mean, so in regards to those locations, my intention is that, subject to getting this protocol in place, that we can then prepare some drafts to show what a scheme could look like in those areas. Yeah, I've got a few along the list.
Mary?
Page 19, business recommendations. I'm just not surprised with Laura really. It's recommended the County of Cumbria, but then it goes on to say Cumbria County Council on page 31.
Yeah.
Various boards and councils. I'm just a bit confused.
Yeah. So what we've got two different options with TROs. You can consolidate them, or you can do a variation.
Mm-hmm.
So we started this stating to members that it would be a variation order. So we did start the Penrith one back in the Cumbria County Council days.
Okay.
So because we've progressed through that stage, it's got to be a variation order, and the most recent traffic regulation order that we have for Eden is a Cumbria County Council one.
Right.
We will consolidate it and it will become a Westmorland and Furness order, just at a later date.
That's all.
Virginia?
Yeah, could I just ask while you're there, Laura? So all of us have problems, receive problems from carers and so on, attending. So the flexible pass, is that open-ended? Can it be used, throughout?
Yeah. So the intention of the flexible permit is, so the flexible permit isn't registered to a vehicle, it's a single permit and it's for that property. So the owner of that property is able to provide it to the care provider or anybody that regularly visits that property, whether it's a carer or a family member, or that's the intention of the flexible permit. So it's not taken away, because that's what you tend to find.
Yeah. So that's great, but I mean, how does that sort of compare with a visitor permit? Is it just that it's just there for a couple of hours, and that if it was being used longer?
It means that it doesn't expire. So what you tend to see, and again, this is more so in the Penrith areas where you've got resident-only restrictions. So the resident-only restrictions, they're entitled to the visitors, but they only have 60-day allocation. So if you're getting a regular daily carer, or potentially twice a day, they can't display that disc, so they've got to use that visitor permit. So that visitor permit then becomes quite quickly full. And then they're not always entitled to another. So the flexible permit doesn't have limitations on how often it can be used. It can just solely be for that property. So it lasts longer and it removes the need for having to fill in a visitor's permit at the time. Does that explain it better?
It does. I mean, it just seems that the flexible permit could be used for visitor. Why do we need the 60 days visitor permit if we've got a flexible permit?
Yeah, so there's certain criteria that would need to be met. I mean, it isn't just everybody can say, oh, I've got a carer, I need a permit. It's just to remove the need. What we've had in previous areas is we've had carers permits, and they've been issued to the carers, and then they've utilised them in towns, in different zones, and when they shouldn't have been utilised, and so they've been abused really. So we're trying to eliminate that, but we also need to take consideration for the people that have only got a 60-day allocation, and it's not great, and it's not very economic, is it really? Printing out regular permits when you can just provide them when you want.
Right. Neil?
So, can I have this? Everybody will be entitled to 2 residence permits. And is it either a flexible permit or a visitor permit or both?
No, so if you are a resident and you live within a restricted street and you're entitled to a resident permit, you are entitled to 2 permits. If you've got a facility to park off street, so if you've got a driveway or you've got a garage that is suitable, it states within the protocol that it's suitable, because some garages don't have cars in these days, then your limitations are reduced. So potentially you might not be entitled to any permits and just the visitor's permit. The flexible permit is there to allow for, I've talked about sustainable users, so people who might use the train regularly, they don't actually have a car, so they wouldn't be entitled to a resident permit, but if they borrowed a vehicle or something, it allows them that flexibility to be able to park outside their property when dropping off the shopping or something, if they've got a somebody's car, or if they've got a carer, and it allows them to be able to provide that carer with somewhere to be able to park.
So in the case of Appleby, go from 1 permit per household to the 2+. I don't like, even though I know from central Appleby how congested it is now, small narrow turnstiles, is that actually liable to be viable?
We are, yes.
Based on that, have you done an assessment of Appleby?
So, not as part of this, but we are reviewing the traffic regulation order. So we have received quite a few requests specifically in Appleby Town to introduce more parking schemes in the area. So we are looking to extend the available on-street provisions to see if we can improve that. After speaking with a few residents, they do actually get issued with the 2 permits in most cases. It's just that the traffic regulation order stipulates that they're only entitled to 1, so we've just regulated that.
Right. Oh no, go on.
Sorry, just one very quick question. Obviously, when the parking protocol is implemented in restricted streets, that's going to remove quite a lot of the people that maybe coming to Penrith and parking in these restricted streets to work and things into a different area. How will we be monitoring the impact on the restricted streets as to the effect of the parking protocol? I mean, will going forward, we'll be looking at extending the streets out further out into Penrith.
Yeah. So that's one that I was going to, because there is the Penrith one as well. So there's the Penrith report that I was going to talk about. But yeah, there's a full review going on in Penrith to try and make things much better. Yeah.
Because I do know that certainly Town Head on Scotland Road and things, that there is major issues with people parking outside there and then walking to Penrith and the residents driving.
Yeah.
Okay, John?
Yeah, thanks very much. I'll try to be really quick. I know it's very tempting to get talking about types of permits and who gets them and who doesn't get them and how long for and such like. But for me, the really interesting bit is in 3.5 of the report. Additionally, the recommended protocol will help create more availability for short stay on-street parking within the wider Eden locality. And I think that's the bit to keep a hold of, because that's the really good news in this bit, because it's actually what else it lets you do, isn't it?
It is, yeah, that's correct.
Right, thank you. So we need to, the recommendation is that we vote to bring into operation this parking protocol. So could I have a proposer, please? Councillor Murray, and a seconder, Councillor Riddle, is that? Okay, so could we all those in favour, please? Thank you. Right, so because we all liked that so much,
You're going to like the next one.
we'd like to have the Penrith parking protocol now, please.
So the Penrith protocol, this one has been knocking around for quite some time. Like I referred, it started when we were Cumbria County Council. We've finally got the advertisement concluded, which again took place same time as the other one. Can't remember the date. It's 20th of September to the 11th of October. So the Penrith one was initiated following the Penrith Parking Movement Study. So an assessment was carried out. It was a joint assessment between County Council, Eden and the Town Council, and it basically assessed all the provisions for parking. It wasn't just on street, it was off street as well. And it was highlighted that there was a lot of zones within the Penrith on street traffic regulation order parking zones that weren't at capacity, some that were exceeding capacity. The majority of the ones that weren't exceeding capacity were the resident only ones, and they're ones where we've received multiple complaints from the residents because they can't get the boiler serviced, or they can't have a visitor more than 60 times a day, or they can't have a regular carer. So as part of the Parking and Movement Study, there was a few recommendations that were pulled together, which stipulated the need for a parking protocol, resident parking protocol, and also a review of the traffic regulation order, which hadn't been done for quite a few years anyway. So, first things first, let's get the protocol into place before we start changing the regulations. So yeah, we undertook the consultation. Notices were displayed on multiple streets within Penrith. The information was made publicly available in the library and again on the website, similar to the Eden one. We received 25 representations through the consultation pack. 15 of those were asking, what does this notice mean? At which point I drafted a reply and sent it to the members as well, for should they be asked the same question. I think what we learned through the advertisement of the parking protocol is that legal orders don't make much sense to the public, and I will liaise with our legal services team to try and identify a way of how we can make those improvements better and make it a bit more clearer. Once I'd replied to the residents and explained actually what it meant, very few of them came back. A lot of them just came back and said, oh, that's brilliant, thank you very much, great, yeah, no problem at all. Because it doesn't really mean that there's much changes. yes, we're introducing a flexible permit. Carers permits haven't been issued for donkey's years, I don't think. We're introducing the right of appeal through the protocol, through both protocols. That isn't in place currently, so if a resident was refused a permit, they've got no way of really appealing that process. So it will be much better. And then obviously with the huge piece of work that my team are doing to review the traffic regulation order within Penrith, I do believe that it will work much better. So yes, out of the 25 representations, 15 of them were asking for a little bit more information. And then from that, we then received 3 that were in support, 1 that was opposed, and 5 that were asking for further information. Once they were provided answers to the questions, they didn't really come back with anything. One of the responses was, it highlighted some concerns around the fact that we've used the term discretionary powers within the document. So, I mean, it is related, it is referred in the document. It allows us transparency and it gives us the reasons of what we would use our discretionary powers for and actually documented within the report. So I did advise that under the Highways Act we are able to legally, discretionary powers are established under the Highways Act 1980, which enables highway authorities to act in a public interest in situations where they are not statutorily required to do so. And then I provided a couple of examples. They did request for an opinion by our Chief Legal Officer. So I am in the process of seeking that information, and then I'll liaise with John on how I go about whether I need to make that information public or I'm not quite sure, but we are entitled to use the term discretionary powers in that clause. So yeah, I have 25 responses, and then for only one opposed, I can't see there to be any reason as to why we shouldn't progress with introducing the protocol, and that's what my recommendation is.
Great, thank you. Pat?
Thank you very much for all the enormous amount of work that's gone into this. So thank you to you and the team, and I really welcome the protocol. And thank you for mentioning the notices on that post, because my inbox was exceptionally busy. And you know, people genuinely misunderstood and suddenly thought that they weren't going to be able to park, whereas they hadn't been able to park before. But as you say, once you've explained what the deal was, and the consultation was a little while ago. I think some people had forgotten and reckoned that we hadn't consulted on it. And I think, you know, those notices on that post, if we could do better with a plain English introductory paragraph that reminded people what on earth it was all about, then when there's the next time, that would be brilliant. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anybody else want to make a point? No, doesn't look like it. So there is once again a very non-plain English recommendation, which I will reduce to, in order to implement this, we need to vote to put this into operation. Could I have a proposer, please? Councillor Bell, and the seconder. Councillor Taylor, I always forget everybody's saying names. Right, could we vote for, please? Right, thank you. Right, so I think you get away free now, don't you, Laura?
I'll let around.
Oh, right, to listen to the next exciting traffic-related instalment. We have Steph Davis-Johnson, Traffic Management Manager, to present the project update for the 20-mile-per-hour speed limits.
Thank you very much, Chair. At the Eden Locality Board meeting in January, it was agreed to progress 8 proposals to proposal development and initial consultation for 20-mile-an-hour speed limits at 8 locations. We had Clifton, Gamblesby, Glastonbury, Great Asby, Greystoke, Penrith, Stockbridge and Tyrrell and Stainton. We held early engagement meetings in the March and April time early this year with parish and town councils and with Westmorland and Furness selected members, and a copy of the co-designed proposals can be found as Appendix 1 to the report. We, during that meeting, considered the consultation methods and launched an initial consultation on Wednesday the 4th of June, which lasted a period of 6 weeks and 2 days. The responses received to the consultation are summarised for each proposal in Appendix 2, which can be found on pages 73 to 78 of the agenda pack. And the outcome of the consultation has been communicated to all the parish and town councils involved, as well as the affected ward members. In any instances where responses to a proposal were closely divided, or where there were a significant number of requests for amendments, officers conducted some detailed analysis to identify emerging trends within the feedback, and to continue the collaborative decision making, we held follow-up meetings with affected members and parish and town councils to discuss the feedback in greater depth and details of the rationale. I won't go through all of the responses to the consultation, but I would just like to highlight the feedback regarding Penrith. So in Penrith we received 764 responses, and we were able to break that down in terms of the postcode data that was gathered to establish 730 responses from residents of Penrith. From those that selected the in support of the proposal with suggested amendments, there was quite a few suggested amendments. 79 requests were for the scheme to be extended. 24 requests were for particular roads to be excluded from the scheme. But of all the roads requested, Beacon Edge was the one most frequently requested to be included within the scheme. We haven't proposed that that's included within the proposal. However, the local team are working to have traffic calming measures out for informal consultation with residents and members at the moment. Further analysis of the data indicated that whilst most areas of Penrith were overall supportive of the proposal, the data for Castletown was inconclusive. The proposal generally, there's quite a lot of areas of Penrith that already has 20-mile-an-hour speed limits or zones in place, and the 3 largest areas of Penrith that were affected or would be mostly impacted by a proposed 20-mile-an-hour are Castletown, Fairhill and New Streets. We were able to break down that postcode data to then tell us roughly what the communities of those 3 areas, how they would like to progress in terms of the speed limit. And Castletown, we had 42% in favour, 11% in favour but suggested some changes, and 47% not in favour of the proposal. For Fairhill, we had 46% in favour, 16% requesting some changes but overall in favour, and 38% against the proposal. And New Streets area, we had 63% fully in support of the proposal, 13% requesting some changes but overall in support, and 24% against the proposal. This information was discussed with the affected ward members and with representatives of Penrith Town Council at our follow-up meeting following the consultation, at which we agreed that Castletown should be excluded from the 25-26 statutory consultation and be consulted upon individually in the 26-27 proposal. Furthermore, we were then provided some information regarding the community desire for Scarsgill Lane to be introduced. on a 20 mile an hour speed limit. On reflection, that should really have been included in the initial proposal out to consultation, and with some consultation with the ward members and the town council, we're recommending that that is included in the statutory consultation moving forward. Following the consideration of all the feedback received and our further discussions with affected stakeholders, we have revised the set of proposals that are recommended to progress to statutory consultation and advertisement, which are attached to the report as Appendix 3. Which leads me on to the recommendation, which is to progress the 20 mile an hour speed limit proposals to statutory consultation and advertisement of a TRO, without amendments in 7 of the 8 proposals, but with amendments for Penrith. I'm happy to take any questions.
Okay, great. Thanks very much. So could you just clarify the Castletown? Again, it's been taken out at this stage, but is being brought back possibly? Could you just go through that again?
Yes, of course. So because the percentages around the voting from residents of Castletown was really quite close, 53% to 47%, it was really, we couldn't consider that to be really well supported by the community. So what we're suggesting at this moment is to not include it in this year's statutory consultation, but allow it to go through the whole process again next financial year in the 3rd year of the programme. So we'll have the proposals that have been agreed for next year plus Castletown, Penrith.
Right, thank you. That sounds very clear. Virginia?
Yes, if you could just sort of carry on. So as part of that renewed look at Castletown, you'll be able to look, consider alternatives and perhaps other improvements for the traffic issues that there are in Castletown. So I just wonder, are we limited to just saying the 20 mile an hour yes or no? Because is that going to come with a different response? What will be different in the year that before it comes back for the public to decide?
I think this opportunity provides the community of Castletown a very specific opportunity where they can comment on a scheme specifically for their area. We had some feedback that with Penrith being so large, that areas were perhaps a bit lost and didn't feel like they were included in the consultation. It should have been more specifically consulted upon area by area. This provides the community of Castletown an opportunity to feedback. The 20 mile an hour programme is specific to 20 mile an hour speed limits. There are some opportunities around other speed limit changes or potentially some minor signing or road marking improvements associated with the proposal of a 20 mile an hour speed limit, but that is sort of the scope of the programme, so we would be looking to make any other wildly different restrictions. So.
Okay. John?
I do remember when I used to sit just there, that some time ago we had a representation from at least one community council that was very upset they weren't part of round 1. I'm delighted to see that they are now part of round 2.
Indeed, we're all delighted to see this list of names. Yeah. Colin?
Yeah, just thank you for a very comprehensive presentation, but just a rather, for me, an obvious question is Penrith's expanding very, very quickly at the moment. Page 65, for example, we've got Chase Park on there that isn't included in the 20 mile an hour scheme. Is it possible to tag on 20 mile an hour schemes to the new housing estates that are being built at the moment?
So the roads included within the scheme are adopted highway roads. At the time of preparing the order, if those roads are adopted, we'll include them. If not, they'll be excluded but not signed out of the TR. So the TRO won't state that particular road, but neither will there be 30-mile-an-hour signs, particularly at the junction, and it will be picked up as part of a future review of the speed limit order.
Yes, thank you. You briefly mentioned the 26-27 programme, which also includes Kirby Street and lots of other places. We are still on target to deliver all those 26-27 schemes in that year, are we?
Yes. The team are currently drafting some initial designs, and we'll be in touch with the necessary stakeholders shortly.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Once we've got South Road sorted out.
Well, I'm trying to keep my questions rather short.
Yeah.
South Road will take a while.
Right. Right, so I think that is all the points anyone wants to make. So I'll just read out the recommendation that we're having to vote on. This is to progress the 20-mile-per-hour speed limit proposals to statutory consultation and advertisement of the traffic regulation order. This will be without amendment in Clifton, Gamblesby, Glastonbury, Great Asby, Greystoke, Stockbridge and Tyrrell and Stainton, and with amendments in Penrith, all as detailed in Appendix 3. Could I have a proposer for this, please? It's Councillor Bell, and a seconder, Councillor McCall. Votes for, please.
It's unanimous, Chair.
Thank you. Right, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
So, go out to rapturous applause from all those people in those villages. And finally, for our traffic fest, we have an off-street parking order from Victoria Upton, our traffic manager.
Good evening, thank you. This one should be rather brief, hopefully. This report advises members on the advertisement that's taken place for an off-street parking traffic regulation order for Eden, formerly an Eden District off-street parking order. It is now to be made as a Westmorland and Furness Council off-street parking order, with the distinct recommendation to remove the existing off-street parking restrictions at Mansion House in Penrith to allow for the sale of the building. It was advertised from the 30th of August for 21 days, and we had 4 representations, one being Penrith Town Council with a number of queries about parking across the town, not distinctly in objection to the removal of those parking restrictions, and there were 3 further responses, 2 of which mentioned retaining disabled parking spaces, and a third and the 4th that mentioned parking availability for staff. And it is the intention, upon the conclusion of the sale, that some portion of the rear of Mansion House car park will be retained as a council asset, and at that time we will then prepare further restrictions as an off-street order amendment to reinstate appropriately depending on the layout of what's left, and all staff will be consulted on any changes appropriately. These tie in as well with the parking and movement study. The parking team is ongoing across Penrith, and so changes, these comments have been fed to the parking team for part of that review. So the overall consensus thought was that there weren't any specific objections to the removal of the Mansion House parking restrictions at this time, and so therefore the recommendation is to approve the Westmorland and Furness Council off-street parking places all of the Eden locality as a consolidation under Westmorland Furness, and it be brought into operation as advertised.
Okay, thank you. Any of us got any questions, Victoria? Nick, is that you just stretching?
Stretching, sorry.
Don't move, don't move. You've just bought a cow,
No
you know. Yeah. Okay, I think you're getting away, fairly scot-free there. So yes, just to emphasise, the proposal is that we vote to bring this into operation. Okay, so could I have a proposer? That's Councillor Robinson, and a seconder, Councillor Murray, please. So all those in favour? Andy? Yeah. Yeah, okay, thank you, it's unanimous. Thank you very much. You may leave the building. Right. Gosh, you're up to Nick. It must be midnight.
It's exciting times. Thank you, Chair, and as always, it's my pleasure to present the Safe and Strong Communities paper, which updates members on the status of the communities budget, but also highlights the great, fantastic work of the Eden community officers who work alongside each and every one of you, and also our local partners. The paper includes action logs for all 8 of Eden's Place action groups. These forums continue to be a hive of project activity and collaborative working for the priorities that have been highlighted by people within our communities. They are all looking to identify activity upon which they will target project work that will use their ring-fenced Eden Locality Board budget, so more information will come to the board on that. Coupled with that, there are brief updates on the numerous thematic working groups in Eden that both members and officers represent our local people on, so that's in there as well. As members know, I've had a number of conversations with you about it, a significant piece of work at the moment that's required considerable involvement from the entire team actually, is the levelling up funded proposal to redevelop Penrith Town Hall into a creative and community hub. Our goal with this project is purely intended to be a co-developed project with our partners and based on robust community input to help shape it. We've just finished an intensive 4-week programme, a community conversation with our individuals within our communities to inform what people would like to see in that space, and that has been just a full team effort, so thanks to the communities team for getting involved in that. Every single one of our officers was involved in that. The paper highlights 13 grant awards supporting a range of really brilliant and fantastic community initiatives that have benefited from investment from this board and may not have happened otherwise. That leads me nicely on to the decision, the one recommendation, which is a decision for the board to consider. Due to a bit of a flurry of really worthy initiatives coming into the 0 to 19 Open Application Fund, this is now completely applied. We do have more in the pipeline as well, more 0 to 19 projects to potentially support. The strategic project for this year has not yet formed sufficiently to progress. So at conversation of the Children and Young People's Working Group recently, the group would like to table an ask of this board to via the 10,000 that was originally allocated to the strategic project into the Open Application Fund to be used for consideration for these additional projects that we have asks for. I will leave it there and welcome any comments that members may wish to make about initiatives in their area, place action groups, and I will endeavour to answer any questions as best I can. I will provide answers from the team if I can't, and then if you'd be so kind, Chair, as to table the recommendation, that would be fantastic.
Excellent. Right, yes, I have any point. I particularly like the Eden runners getting money towards a shorter running track. Way! Just my sort of running. So, has anybody else got? Adrian.
Thanks, Chair. There's quite a lot in this report. Thank you very much, Nick, for putting it together. So I've got several points. Do you want me to do more, or are you going to run through the report from beginning to end?
One at a time would be
Yes,
would be
yes,
great.
one at a time.
All right, I shall start off then with Kirby Stephen Tebay, Place Action Group, Appendix 9. First thing I'd like to say about this is about the community cohesion event that was held in Tebay on the 29th of July, which I attended, and which I thought was quite an excellent event. So I'd like to thank all the officers of this council and partner organisations who helped to organise it. We made contact with a lot of the residents of Tebay, adults and children in various different ways. A lot of issues were raised, which I know have been addressed by various people, some of them by myself. So I think it was a very successful event. It was moved things forward, so I'd like to thank everybody, congratulate everybody involved in that one. The second thing I'd like to ask was a question on the proposed project to look at options for improving the transport communications between Kirby Stephen West Railway Station and the town centre. The Place Action Group agreed a budget and a brief for this in February 2025, and I understand it's been with someone in the infrastructure team in the Sustainable Transport Service since April, which is about 6 months. So I wonder if anybody could update us on what is happening with that project, which seems to be delayed a bit.
I will take that action, Adrian.
All right, thanks very much. Get back to me. Thanks very much indeed. Do you want me to carry on, Chair, or let somebody else in at this stage?
No, you might as well. You're on a roll.
All right, thank you very much. The finance on Appendix 1, the Devolved Communities Budget, shows that so far we've spent £136,000 and forecast by the end of the year we'll have spent just over £1 million, which seems to me requires great speeding up of our rate of spend. Is that realistic?
Yes, that will include the highways budget as well, which is why it's such a high.
Yes.
But in terms of the community's budget, we do tend to apply a lot towards the end of the financial year to give us time to work up the projects.
Yeah.
So there's no concerns. If we have any concerns about underspend, I will raise that here very quickly.
Okay, thanks very much indeed. And finally, the Highways Working Group, which is Appendix 12, a couple of points on there. Firstly, the new pedestrian crossing in the High Street in Kirby Stephen has been causing concern to a lot of residents who are unhappy with the safety barrier that is on it and think it should have a middle rail on. I know that Councillor Murray has circulated a photograph of one of his grandsons demonstrating standing next to a safety barrier with a middle rail on, and I think a lot of people in the community feel that that would be safer than the current one that doesn't have a middle rail. So I'd like to ask if any thought's being given to that. The second issue on the Highways Working Group, there's a reference to the repairs to the M6 bridges in the Tebay Gorge, which is something that's causing enormous concern to people in Tebay particularly, but also a lot of the other surrounding towns and villages, including Kirby Stephen itself. And I know in wards outside of Kirby Stephen and Tebay. The local community has been putting a lot of effort into campaigning to keep Junction 38 open. We've succeeded in persuading National Highways to keep the A685 bridge over the motorway open. Councillor Murray and I have also been campaigning on this House Team Family the MP. My question is, can somebody fill us in on the work that is being done by Westmorland and Furness Council as an organisation in trying to persuade National Highways to keep the Junction 38 open? And their end of my long list of questions and comments. Thank you, Chair.
Right, thank you. So I'll take the last one up as an action away to talk to Highways on that.
And I'll take the former as an action away.
Thank you very much.
Right, so John, you've got a non-Kirby Stephen related group?
I wouldn't dream of trying to have Kirby Stephen, my colleague councillor. We heard at the start of the meeting the passion and excitement about the Penrith Town Hall, and I just want to echo my thanks to all people who have been very involved in the consultation on that. I think it promises to be a really significant thing for the town, and of course, while it's most important for people in Penrith itself, it is also really, really important for people across Eden as well. So I think that's fantastic. One area of work that I know Nick's been involved in, but he didn't mention in his report, is the excitement that is growing over the Emont 927 1100 celebrations that are starting to be worked up and planned. I think it would be perhaps useful in a future report to reference where we're getting up to with that, and just to ask in principle, because obviously it's not on the agenda, so it's not for decision, whether it would be possible, maybe if there was any underspend in our locality board budget, whether it might be appropriate to allocate any funding towards the proposed celebrations for the 1100th anniversary of the great event at Emont Bridge in 927.
Thank you for all your comments. In defence of Nick, the first official working group has not sat with a minuted meeting yet, so that's probably why it hasn't appeared, and no doubt.
Yeah, we do have quite a bit of a lead time to this paper, but your point's completely accepted, and I'm sure it'll be something that will feature in the future.
So, Chair, I was just going to say, we do actually have that as an item on the work programme for the January meeting. So there'll be,
yes, there will be a very good update on that. Yeah. Any other points?
Yes. Sorry, you first.
Thank you. Yes, at our meeting, you know, we hear all about the work that we've been doing, and it's headed up by the Eden Locality Board, and then the Town Council had their meeting and they head up what they're doing. And what is somewhat hidden is the fact that we do a lot of work in partnership with people. And, you know, I'd just like to publicly thank our partners for their contribution. You know, people like the Bids, the Chamber, churches together. And I think we forget that we are only able to do much of what we do because of the contribution of our partners. So if it could be minuted, our thanks to them, I'd be very grateful.
Yeah, thank you. Always a good reminder. Mary?
Yeah. Place action groups and working with our parishes, who are also our partners as well, particularly in the rural areas where we don't have bids and things like that. And the work that they do as volunteers in each of those parishes. And we've got 9 of them at the moment. And Sue, who's sitting quietly at the end, has been heading up a project which is the housing survey for our 9 parishes, because of course the new emergent local plans coming forward. And it was one of our priorities that we set out at a meeting last September. And we've just had the group of volunteers that gathered together to actually deliver and then collect under Sue's guidance. And Sue's headed this part of the PAG work up. So I'd like to say publicly, Sue, thank you very much. We're just exchanging surveys coming back to go through to ACT and other of our partners who are doing that work for us for nothing. And it's been quite a big project. We will take a lot of learning away from this, that's for sure. Online seems to be getting popular from what we've seen as a way of consultation and getting that feedback. And it's quite exciting as to seeing people really getting to grips with actually taking control of their communities and where they want to see them go. And Sue has actually also just done a session on NALC, actually explaining, could you explain what you've been doing with NALC about place action groups? So,
if that's okay, Chair. Yeah, I gave a presentation last Friday to NALC's Micro Council Network, because they're very interested in how smaller communities can work collaboratively. So I highlighted that Place Action Group is a way of communities to do this without any sense of losing their identity. Because when you live in a rural community, it's really important
the sense of place that the residents have. And people have been frightened in the past of clustering, particularly clustering, I'm sorry to say this, around the neighbouring town council, because they fear they might be swallowed up and as a community they'll no longer exist, so to speak. So this has been quite interesting. NALPA are very interested in what's been happening in Eden, and I have suggested that they get in touch with Nick and Mary if they want to find out more, but it was very well received. Place action groups are seen as a creative way of encouraging small communities to actually think beyond their boundaries. So this has worked well. And just to follow up on what Mary's said already, and thank you very much for the acknowledgement, Mary, but what we're hoping is the place action group for Austin Moor and Fellside, once we've got this housing needs survey outcomes in front of us, perhaps we could offer other place action groups. This is a model so that it can be rolled out and repeated, because it's very, very important, as we all know, that there's the right housing in the right place across Eden, particularly in rural communities. So this is one way of having verifiable independent data that people can use at planning committee meetings when somebody suggests putting 5,000 executive properties in a small field opposite a little local pub, and perhaps that's not what the local community needs. So this way of going about finding verifiable independent data is something that's quite difficult for a small community on their own to organise and undertake. But if you can do it through a place action group and people are volunteering to help making that project work, it's something that's worth noting, I think.
Yeah, thank you very much. That sounds like a good use of a place action group. It's all beginning to develop, isn't it? Different place action groups are all doing different things, which is very interesting.
I would also add that, you know, we're moving into the next phase of where we're going for the next priorities, and three of the energy, small energy projects will be in the Austin and Fellside place action group. So that's something again that we can replicate in our other parishes, but also across the parishes within Eden as well. So there's a lot of learning that we need to be sharing and seeing how we can benefit our communities in the most positive ways as far as I'm concerned.
Thank you very much. Colin?
Just a couple of questions on the new Penrith Enterprise Club at the former Barclays Bank. As late as November 2023, we were promised £7 million for the new Inspire Eden Hub out at Stony Beck there. I quote from the press release from Westmorland and Furness there that there was going to be an estimated 740 businesses benefited with possible 655 jobs and generating 26.2 million for the local economy. And I was personally very excited about that. I mean, that was going to be a really good thing for Eden. Can I ask, when was the decision taken to abandon the Stony Beck project and refocus the £7 million on the town hall and the Penrith business hub, if you like, the Barclays Bank project? Has there been a business case conducted for the enterprise hub in Barclays Bank? I noticed that an anchor tenant has been proposed, which is a company called FIS 360. Can I ask how many jobs will be created as a result of the Penrith Enterprise Hub? And will the tenant be paying a market-led rate for renting the Penrith Business Hub? Or will it be subsidised as such?
It sounds like it requires quite a detailed response there, Nick.
There is a lot there, so I will take it away and come back with some information and maybe a separate briefing with that team.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, I think we're drawing to a close. So once again, we need to actually vote something important. So what we're doing here is we're noting the community's budget update, and we're noting the updates, but we need to agree to via £10,000 from the 2025-26 0 to 19 Strategic Youth Project allocation to the general 0 to 19 fund for open applications. Could I have a proposer for that? It's Councillor Murray and seconded Councillor Derbyshire. We have votes for.
Yeah, Mr. Chair.
Right, thank you. Right, so that's item 12. Thank you very much, Nick, for that. Created a lot more excitement than you usually get. Took it in your stride, yeah. So now we have the deferred item, the capital programme update, which is exempted, as we previously stated, into the Part 2 Schedule 12A of the Local Government Act. So please